My name is Alara Winslow, and for most of my life, I was the shadow in family photos, the one quietly cropped out. If my sister Sienna was the shining star, I was the mist they refused to acknowledge. We shared a house and blood, but never the same truth. She was everything our parents boasted about at dinners: pageants, degrees, flawless smiles. I was the quiet one, too curious, barefaced, uninterested in contests. By adulthood, I stopped seeking attention. Sienna lived for limelight. I found life in silence. I built something out of sight, far from poisonous comparisons. No one asked how I spent my time. They assumed I drifted, directionless. When Sienna got married, I wasn't invited. No call, no message. I saw it on an old neighbor's Facebook post. She wore white. I remained invisible. So when I walked into that party, uninvited, years later, reborn, I knew what to expect. Sienna's eye roll, her friend's false surprise. But her mother-in-law went still, eyes wide, whispering like prayer. That's her. For once, silence favored me. Sienna was born knowing how to earn applause. I used to think she studied it in the womb, the chin tilt, the perfect pause, the way to enchant a room before she even learned to spell charm. She was our parents' polished prize horse, flawless, predictable. I was the mutt dragged along, always chasing a spot in a race I was never built to win. I learned the rules quickly. If I aced an exam, nice, but your sister got a scholarship. If I painted something that made a teacher cry, my dad would nod once, then brag about Sienna's violin solo. When she landed the lead in a play, they invited the whole family. When I was published statewide, they didn't mention it. By 16, I knew the truth. Sienna mattered. I didn't. So I stopped trying. I chose the library over dinner, found peace in logic and language. I volunteered, not for resume lines, but because it felt right. It gave me purpose I didn't need to prove. When Sienna got engaged to a finance heir, I learned from a group: chat forward, no direct message, no engagement dinner invite, no bridal shower, no wedding RSVP. The reason? We figured you wouldn't be comfortable. Translation: I didn't fit the aesthetic. It hurt, but I was already letting go. While Sienna mingled at auctions, pampered herself at spa retreats, I was in disaster zones, rebuilding schools, delivering supplies, helping girls access basics. Education. What started as a postgrad fellowship became a mission. I built a nonprofit out of a shared basement in Sacramento. 5 years in, we had field teams across 4 states. By year 7, we'd been featured in national education journals. No posts, no fanfare. I didn't need claps. I needed meaning. My parents never asked. Sienna never noticed. And I didn't mind. Until 3 years before the party, I'd been invited to a modest Denver gala, a mid-tier benefit for grassroots work. I almost didn't go, jet-lagged, inbox overflowing, still uncomfortable in rooms like that. But something pushed me. After my brief speech, a woman approached me by the drinks. She was graceful, poised, pearls, slate silk, a smile both soft and sharp. "You've done good work," she said. "Your numbers are lean. Your impact, real." She gave only her first name. Celia. No titles, no org. Just presence. We spoke for 15 minutes on logistics, sustainability, metrics. She never asked about my school or my family. She listened. As she left, she touched my elbow. "I wish more people understood what you're doing." Then she vanished. I didn't dwell on it. I didn't know who she really was. I just remembered what it felt like to be seen, without credentials, without judgment, without Sienna looming beside me. I went back to work, grounded. Until 3 weeks ago, I received a forwarded invite to a high-profile Witmore Foundation gala. The name meant nothing to me, but a new board partner urged me to go, said it would be worth it. So I went, without expectations. What I didn't know, what no one told me, was that Sienna had married into the Witmore family. And the moment I entered that ballroom, I wasn't the forgotten sister. I was the woman Celia remembered, not for bloodlines, but for impact. The Witmore Foundation Gala was held at the Crestmore Grand, a place that whispered wealth, velvet, glass, stillness, power dressed in elegance. I'd been in rooms like this before, but never as myself. Tonight was different. I arrived early enough to avoid stairs, late enough to blend in. My dress was black, simple, tailored, made to move. My heels weren't sky-high, my earrings didn't glimmer. I hadn't come to dazzle. I came to be undeniable. Inside, everything gleamed. Waiters moved like strategy pieces, a string quartet, played behind a curtain of orchids. The room buzzed with attention, not aggressive, but focused. This was a place where people noticed. That was the point. Then she saw me. Sienna stood near a champagne tower in cream satin that caught the light like a blade. Her laugh had that sharp, practiced quality I knew too well. Manufactured charm. She turned, scanning the room, then froze. Her gaze locked on mine. A beat passed, and right on cue she rolled her eyes. Not subtly, not privately. She did it with flair, like a performance she'd rehearsed since childhood. The classic, ugh, not her again act. She nudged the woman beside her, murmured something. They both looked over. One of them had the grace to look embarrassed when I met her eyes. I didn't flinch. I offered a small smile, not warm, not hostile, just grounded. The smile of someone who no longer needed to shrink to belong. I moved further into the crowd, nodding to faces I recognized from nonprofit circles. As I walked, I noticed eyes flicking toward my name tag. Some squinted, some smiled faintly. One man whispered to his wife, who leaned for a better look. My name, E. Winslow wasn't famous, but in the right rooms, it carried weight. And this was one of them. I reached the refreshment table just lifting a glass of water when I heard it. Alara Winslow. I turned, already half certain. Celia Witmore. She looked unchanged, only more poised. Navy gown, beaded cuffs. Hair, swept back to reveal her whole face. No need to hide. She was the sort of woman people called elegant when they were too intimidated to say powerful. She looked at me and froze. Her glass stilled. Her face didn't shift, but her eyes widened, then narrowed, like recognition was being unwrapped slowly. "That's her," she said, low and measured, as if the words carried weight. The room didn't stop, but my side of it did. Heads turned. Whispers rippled. People paused, trying to place what was happening. "That's her," Celia said again, this time almost smiling. Sienna stood behind her. I didn't have to look. I felt the stiffness. She heard it. She knew. And there was no undoing it. "You're the founder of EWC," Celia said, "and the mobile labs, literacy clinics, school rescue fund. You're that Winslow." "I am," I said simply. Her smile deepened. Warm, full. "I never forgot your speech in Denver," she said. "I told my husband. That woman is changing things. Quietly." I wished more people were paying attention. I stood still, stunned. "Your teams work in Junction County," she continued. "My nephew teaches there. Said kids who used to skip class now beg to stay late. One girl built a solar model from your lab kits. He said it changed the whole school." "I had no idea it reached your family," I replied. "It did," she said. "And I'm so glad to see you again. I'd love to introduce you to some people tonight, if you're willing. I'd be honored." She touched my arm gently, gesturing me forward. We walked toward the main room. Behind us, a murmur caught fire. As we passed the champagne tower, I saw Sienna again. Frozen. Her smile, too wide, too sharp, was cracking. One of her friends leaned in, asking a question I didn't hear. But the flash of panic in Sienna's eyes spoke louder than words. She replied too quickly. A man nearby turned to Celia. "Wait, is that the Winslow from the Pine program?" Celia answered for me. "That's her." 3 syllables. Everything shifted, a whispered coronation, a quiet reckoning. For the first time in years, I stood in a room full of strangers and felt seen, not as Sienna's sister, not as the forgotten daughter, not as the name left off the guest list. Just me. Sienna watched from across the room, but never approached. I saw her lingering, hovering in clusters, trying to regain that easy command. But something had changed. Her laugh was offbeat, her smile didn't land, and the people she tried to impress were now watching me. I didn't gloat, didn't need to. The silence said enough. Guests came to meet me. Warm, curious, respectful. They cited projects I'd nearly forgotten. Quoted stats from reports I'd assumed went unread. Some asked how I began. Others asked how they could help. No one asked if I was Sienna's sister, and that was a kind of freedom I hadn't known before. Later, I stepped away from the board members Celia had introduced me to. I made my way to the exit hall. I hadn't planned to stay long. This wasn't truly my world, but I came. I was seen. And I watched Sienna's social illusion unravel. Quietly, completely. That was enough. Just before I reached the coat check, I heard a voice behind me. Not a call, a blade. Alara. I paused. It wasn't the name. It was the weight in the voice. Not recognition, but fury. I turned. Sienna stood a few feet back, arms stiff, at her sides. Her makeup was still flawless, but the tension in her jaw told a different story. You planned this, didn't you? She hissed. You waited for the perfect moment to walk in and steal the entire room. I tilted my head. I was invited. You knew she'd be here. Celia. You knew she liked you. You used her. I didn't know anything, I said, evenly. I just showed up, like anyone else on the guest list. She gave a short, bitter laugh. Don't act innocent, Alara. You pretend to be above it all. So humble, so generous. But deep down you crave attention like the rest of us, don't you? No, I said. I crave impact. That's different. She blinked. As if the words struck something she didn't have armor for. You never used to be like this. She snapped. I almost laughed. That's funny. Because I think I've always been like this. You just never bothered to look. For a moment, something in her cracked. Then it hardened again. Do you know what it's been like trying to explain? You to everyone? You don't fit, you don't look the part, you make people uncomfortable. That's not my problem, I said quietly. That's yours. Her lips pressed thin. You could have stayed in your lane, but no, you had to show up and humiliate me. No, I said. What humiliated you was the truth. And it's not new. It's just louder now. We stood in silence. The clink of glassware. Faint strings in the distance. That was all. She stepped closer. I don't care how many people think you're impressive. You're still the same girl who sat alone at lunch, the one no one wanted around. Met her gaze. And yet, here I am, invited, welcomed, respected, without pretending to be anyone else. That landed. I saw it. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her shoulders dipped slightly. She looked away first. I stepped forward, not in anger, but in clarity. I didn't come to ruin your night. I didn't even come for you. I came because the work matters, and apparently some people in your world can see that. I told them you were small, she said, quieter now. You weren't supposed to show up like this. I know, I said. But truth doesn't ask permission. I turned and walked away. She didn't follow. She didn't call my name. Near the lobby, Celia appeared again, gliding through a cluster of donors. Her face brightened when she saw me. Slipping out? She asked softly. I think I've done what I came to do. I think so too, she smiled, then added, I hope we'll talk more soon. There's space at the table for women like you. She squeezed my hand. Not performative, just steady. The kind of strength that doesn't need applause. Outside, the air was cool. Not biting, just clean. My car pulled up. As I stepped in, I didn't look back. That chapter, whatever it was, had written its final line. The ride home was quiet. No music, no texts, no mental rewinds. Just the low hum of tires and a stillness I hadn't felt in years. I sat there, hands folded in my lap, letting silence wrap around me like a soft blanket. No fireworks, no imaginary applause, no revenge monologue playing out, because tonight wasn't about Sienna. It was about me. Most of my life, I moved through rooms like I needed permission to exist, waiting for someone to say, "Hey, we see you now." But when Celia said, "That's her," something shifted. Not because she said it, but because I already knew it was true. The moment wasn't about discovery, it was about confirmation, and that made all the difference. I used to imagine what it would feel like to be in a room where my name mattered, not for who I was related to, but for what I built. Now I know. And now I also know. I don't need it. Recognition is lovely. But it's not the point. What I've built, quietly, steadily, beyond the noise, is the point. When the car pulled up to my apartment, I stepped out feeling light. I climbed the steps without pause. No looking back. No wondering what Sienna was thinking. No ghosts chasing me. I closed the door behind me and exhaled. My place was small, warm, lined with books and photos that mattered, not staged, not curated, just real. I brewed tea, watched steam curl up into the quiet. My body softened. The silence wasn't empty. It was peaceful, and I thought of the girl I used to be, the one who stayed home while everyone else went to Sienna's recitals, the one who didn't get asked, who kept working anyway. What would I say to her now? Maybe nothing. Maybe I'd just sit beside her, let her know she wasn't invisible, that every time she stayed true, she was writing the life we're living. Now, Sienna's version of the past doesn't belong to me anymore. I don't need to correct it. Let her say what she wants. The people who matter saw the truth, and more importantly, so did I. I didn't walk into that ballroom looking for redemption. I walked in already whole. So when Celia said, "That's her," maybe the room heard it. For the first time. But me, I've been saying it for years. That's her. That's me.